The Federal Bureau of Prisons facility you're going to without parole is a significant distance from Kentucky. You're not going a couple counties from Jefferson. You're going elsewhere. We remove you from the community. The important takeaway, though, is not a chest-pounding prosecutor standing here at the podium talking about locking up folks for significant periods of time. The goal is deterrence. The goal is that everyone that hears this newscast knows to stop, because we're bringing significant resources to take you out of the community. Our goal is to prevent. Our goal is to be proactive. Hence the unique collaborative nature of the gentlemen, my colleagues on my left and my right. I'm going to ask for Special Agent in Charge Robert Brown to come up, talk a little bit about the FBI role, and then we're going to hear from the Chief and from Mr. Wine. Mr. Brown?
Thank you, U.S. Attorney Russell Coleman, for your leadership, and Chief Schroeder, I want to thank you for leading LMPD and the city in this difficult time. Tom Wine, thank you, and Sean Morrow, ATF SAC, I want to thank you, and Ray and Colonel Burnett, thank you for being here. In the recent days, the violence we've seen here jeopardizes the rights and safety of all citizens, including peaceful demonstrators. It has to stop. Helping foster safe communities continues to be a primary focus of the FBI, as preventing violent crime is a bedrock of the FBI and the ATF. We look forward to working with and leading a new violent crime task force comprised of the FBI, ATF, LMPD, KSP, the Jefferson County Sheriff's Office, and Homeland Security Investigations. What makes this different is this new initiative will have agents and officers working side by side to prevent violent crime versus enterprise, small group conspiracies. It's time to stop the violence that is killing our children, our communities. It's time to help each other build neighborhoods where our kids and adults and teens can feel safe and secure from crime. It's everyone's business. A tough ask, yes, but it's a challenge that each one of us can do something about. What can we do? We can work with your family, you can work in your neighborhoods, you can work in your community. Pick a place to start where you feel comfortable, but get involved to help better your community. Because no community can afford the cost of violence, because a healthier and safer community benefits all of us. Because failing to act costs lives and resources. Because if we don't stop it, no one else will. The point is, there's something that every one of us can do. Thank you.
You, Schroeder.
Good afternoon. Thank you, U.S. Attorney Coleman, for putting this task force together. We appreciate the help of our various state and federal and local partners in addressing the violent crime issues we've seen in Louisville. Recently, we've seen an unacceptable spike in violence, including carjackings and homicides. You just heard Special Agent in Charge Brown talk about what we all can do. Something that's frustrating for my officers and my detectives is when we go to a scene of one of these crimes, so often people don't want to cooperate with us. They don't want to give us the information to solve that. And what I would ask of you watching this is, if you know somebody or if you have information on somebody who's committing violent crimes, please let us know. Let the police know. Let the FBI know. Let one of our other partners know, so we can help bring an end to this violence. Law enforcement ourselves, prosecutors, can't solve this problem alone. We definitely need your help. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Coleman, and members of the force as well. Very quickly, on the front side with the prosecutor's office, what we've been doing now, because the uncertainty of when cases are going to court, the lack of the opportunity to be heard sometimes encourages people. They think, well, it'll be a while before they get around to my case. We've been working with the county attorney's office, identifying cases now that are felonies that would normally sit in district court for a while, moving those forward into the grand jury to have indictments returned much more quickly. Pending this current outbreak of carjackings, we had about 10 cases in our office. We don't know how many more there's going to be, as I said, because the arrests need to be made first. But what has been said before needs to be said again. We need the cooperation of the community. We need people to come forward and let us know. I think a lot of times people are embarrassed We have a lot of new time people who are out there peacefully protesting, and someone asks them for a ride, and the next thing they know, they're on the wrong end of a gun, and their car is taken away. People have to be willing to come forward and testify, and for that, we're very appreciative when the effort is made, appreciative of the work of the men and women in the law enforcement who are helping us as well. Thank you.
It's appropriate that Mr. Wine concludes our case in chief before we take Q&A, because it's especially important to emphasize what we're not and what this isn't. There's no white horse up here. The feds are not rolling in on a white horse. This is truly a collaborative effort with our state partners. It's truly a collaborative effort with LMPD. This is not the feds having a solution. What it is the feds having some significant tools, some significant investigative heft for me to stand here and make a promise to the community that if you use a firearm and you carjack and you put families at risk and neighborhoods at risk, there is a significant likelihood that you'll serve time in federal prison. So that's what this is. It certainly is not the feds rolling in on a white horse. There's also a concern, and Mr. Wine mentioned the lawful protesters, all of which we've taken an oath to protect those that are exercising their First Amendment rights. I would encourage you to take a look at a case of Mr. Hayes, a case included in your press release that describes how some protest activity was exploited, some protesters were exploited, became victims, a gun was brandished, and a car was then carjacked. That gives you an example of what some of the violent conduct we're seeing, where protesters were put at risk. That occurred during the height of civil disturbance here in Louisville. There's a real concern that we're seeing these increases in violent crime, homicide, shooting, carjackings, that some are exploiting lawful protesters. Some are exploiting these First Amendment activity for their own criminal purposes. They're exploiting the fact that law enforcement is stretched thin. Again, we've all taken an oath to protect protesters, but when you cross that line into criminal activity, you loot a Walgreens or a CVS for pain pills, you loot a pawn shop for firearms, you put a gun in the face of some young people that are seeking to exercise their First Amendment rights and carjack, you bring a firearm as a felon to a protest, and I promise this community, and these gentlemen on my left and my right stand with me, we will seek you out and we will prosecute you and send you to federal prison. We cannot allow criminals, those to exploit legitimate First Amendment protected protest activity. We cannot allow that in this community, and that's what we've been seeing over the last few months, and that's what we're concerned about going forward. We need to be candid, and the next week, next month, next 6 weeks, that we remain concerned that will occur. I would encourage your viewers who haven't been downtown to come downtown. Come downtown and drive around and see that we're so used to joking in Louisville about the colors of blue and red and the contrast you see. Well, there's a new color you see in downtown Louisville, and it's brown. It's the color of the boards that are over just about every pane of glass in downtown Louisville. There's a heaviness in downtown Louisville now. I would encourage people who live in this community and live in this Commonwealth to come downtown and see what's become of their downtown. I can pledge that those on my left and my right will do everything in our power to protect those who are protesting, but everything in our power to send those who cross that line and put protesters at risk to prison outside of this community. Lastly, when I last stood here last week, we were announcing a significant gang initiative, a roundup of a number of individuals affiliated with a violent street gang. And I want to make an apology because a couple of years ago, sitting with my friend Sadiqa Reynolds, I promised that anytime I talked about a law enforcement effort, I would be candid in saying that law enforcement is not the only tool, that we're not going to be able to arrest our way out of the challenges. And I didn't make note of that last time, and it's an important point. Law enforcement is an essential tool. What we're talking about here is an essential tool to protecting families. You can't get to education, you can't get to job training, you can't get to some of these root causes unless there's a safe environment. And so we're not standing here saying that we have the exclusive remedy, but we're standing here saying that we have an essential remedy. And this community must have a valid, robust, constitutional law enforcement presence for those more problematic areas to be addressed. And so I just want to concede, I didn't mention that last time, but to honor my promise to Ms. Reynolds, I want to say that out loud. This is an essential effort, but it is not the only remedy to bring this community forward. So with that, and I want to give one disclaimer, it's natural that you'll want to address questions, whether it's Mr. McAtee or Ms. Taylor, but we're here to talk about a significant collaborative effort that's tackling violent crime in this community. What we're not going to be able to talk about are any ongoing investigations. So certainly it's your right, and I understand that you may want to touch upon that, but we're not going to be able to address any ongoing investigations. But with that, any questions that we can address, we're certainly happy to. Mark?
The case of David Boggs, for example, who they make a common situation where are we seeing on
So I'm going to let Chief Schroeder address that to the degree that he's able to.
So the Boggs case is currently under investigation by our homicide unit. There are some details I won't be able to discuss today. But speaking in generally, not solely within the last few months, but over a course of years, you've seen us create things like safe spots for people to exchange information. We have seen the various sales websites, whether it be the one you mentioned up or any of the variety of others, used as tools to lure people to be robbed. And I think that's probably what you're looking at there, is probably a robbery that went bad.
several methods that they're using to lure people in carjackings, or can you describe what they typically
Carjackings tend to be all over the map. It could be a crime of opportunity where they see somebody. It could be something where they lure a person. Each case is different. We've certainly seen cases where people are in their own driveway and somebody attempts to carjack them in their own driveway. So it's really all over the map. It's a crime of opportunity. Yes, our staffing is obviously challenged at this time. We've had a number of officers leave the department, and we are dealing with issues in the community such as the ongoing protests. So that's why partnerships like these, where we get additional resources, are very, very valuable. I can promise you our officers and our detectives are working as hard as they can to solve all of those issues, but it's not something we can do alone. It is a team effort. It's an overall pattern. I think all of us in here saw the pattern we were seeing, and we were alarmed for our community, and we want to solve it with U.S. Attorney Coleman's leadership. We are looking to solve this problem. Yeah, and that could be for a variety of things. I don't know the specific incident. Okay. Yeah, there's a variety of incidents, and our helicopter is actually one of the best tools we have across the community. They actually also do some training near the polo field, so I don't know specifically what was going on with that incident. Okay.
To the Chief's point, it is a crime of opportunity, but your question, and I would point you back to those stats from July. 32 carjackings this past July versus 4 in 2019. That's a pretty significant delta, so I would emphasize that. We're seeing an increase in criminal conduct in areas and neighborhoods that haven't necessarily been exposed in the past. I would encourage viewers and folks who are in Jefferson County to use this to ignite a sense of urgency. We have a number of neighborhoods in this city, vulnerable neighborhoods, that have endured significant violent crime for many, many years, generations. And I think it is waking up folks that oftentimes said, well, that happens over there, and everyone knows what I'm talking about. That happens on the other side of the Nice Street divide. That happens over there to them. And that's just not acceptable. And the degree that this this unsettling feeling, the unrest, what's going on in downtown Louisville. As a person of faith, I like to grasp on Romans 8:28, which tells us that God intends all things for the good. And so even though this is a tough time for this community, what positive can we derive from that? Well, we can start paying attention to neighborhoods that have endured unacceptable levels of violent crime for generations, but it's been over there, and we've not had a sense of urgency in this community to tackle it. And so the degree that this can focus our entire community over assisting neighborhoods that have been vulnerable, getting at that root cause as well. But we have to, with a sense of urgency, tackle violent crime. And we know the vast majority of violent crime in this city takes place in a handful of neighborhoods. So, I wouldn't assert that. We haven't seen that trend yet. Our fear is we're talking violent conduct, and even though every carjacking looks a little bit different, and I would encourage you to look at what triggers a mandatory minimum that's detailed in the press release, a firearm is almost always used. And so it's just a matter of time before someone we have more families, we have more individuals that are killed or injured through this process. So it is a ticking time bomb, which is why we have this degree of proactivity here. I mean, I'm so pleased to be joined by agencies that you don't normally see in Jefferson County to a degree, to have Lieutenant Colonel from the Kentucky State Police. I told him earlier, I was so pleased to see Gray up here. The state police is here in Jefferson County. You see them during the fair. You see them during large events. But you're seeing our colleagues from the state police here raising their hands saying, we want to step up and assist you as well. The challenge is that great. Your question comes up oftentimes in discussions of trends we're seeing. Are they unique to Louisville? The violent crime trends, the homicide trends, the shooting trends. And because we are seeing increase in this type of conduct in large cities, in similar situated cities like Cincinnati, like Indianapolis, to a lesser degree like Nashville, like St. Louis. And yes, we are seeing increases in violent crime elsewhere, but that's irrelevant. I'm not the United States Attorney anywhere but the Western District of Kentucky, and these gentlemen aren't sworn to protect any other city but this one. And I say that with a degree of stridency, that we have a responsibility to tackle the challenges here. And so we're not going to normalize it by saying it's happening elsewhere, so it's okay or it's not as significant. We're responsible for those carjackings. We're responsible for those 95 homicides. We're responsible for mitigating those 348 shootings to date. So what happens in St. Louis, what happens in the West Coast is just not relevant. The uniqueness of this degree of collaboration is somewhat unique. You're seeing across the country as the challenge grows, you're seeing federal, state, and local come together. But I will say what makes this unique are the personalities and the leaders of these agencies. Because we're living in as much as it's a challenging time, whether it's dealing with COVID challenges and COVID fraud, whether it's dealing with an increase in child exploitation during COVID that we've seen across the Commonwealth, whether it's dealing with an increase in violent crime here in Louisville, you're seeing collaboration because of the personalities and the leadership of the folks on my left and my right, and that is very unique, and we're blessed to have these leaders in these roles. So I'd be way over my skis in attempting to answer that. I want to ask the chief or Mr. Wine to address that.
From a reporting standpoint, carjackings are essentially a robbery, but we do have codes within our system that we can specifically track carjackings.